Hey guys, my name is Stephanie Farron and I'm the Technology Facilitator at Butler High School. This quick video tutorial is about the new Quizzes.Next that is available in Canvas, the options you can use it for, and the great tools that are available for teachers. So Quizzes.Next is the new updated version of Quizzes in Canvas. It's slightly different from the traditional quizzes in that it works as an LTI tool or an external tool instead of being a separate category in Canvas. And it's found in a slightly different place. So the pros is there are more question types now, and there's more data analysis, and there are more interactive questions, so you can potentially have either higher levels of thinking in your questions or your question types. The con, and this is a big con for us, is that right now Quizzes and Quizzes.Next do not work very well together. So if you want to merge your two quizzes together, we're going to have to export and import the questions into the new format, and because of this, outcomes will have to be realigned. So my suggestion for this is to continue with the old or traditional quizzes that you have, and then if there is a category, a subject, or a topic in your class that you feel will work really well with Quizzes.Next, start working there, and then it may be that your students will take two types of quizzes for their traditional test, a more interactive one and then a more traditional one in the meantime. I think at some point Canvas is going to have to come up with a better solution to make them match instead of you having to do that all by hand yourself. So I want to look at the different types of question types in both Quizzes and Quizzes.Next. In Quizzes, you can see the traditional quizzes, you can see the question types that you can use. And if you haven't had a chance to use all these, I suggest you stay right into traditional quizzes and try the different quiz type questions based on your subject area and what fits your curriculum. However, in Quizzes.Next, several of these are the same. Several of these have been modified to make them better, and then there are some new categories that you can see that I've linked directions to, and I'm going to go through each of these and show you what they look like and how they're different. As you know, I taught social studies, so primarily my questions are geared at social studies, but I think you can come up with other ways that you could be using this in your subject area. First thing you need to know that is in Quizzes.Next, you're going to find Quizzes.Next under Assignments. By default, Quizzes.Next are not turned on, so you're going to want to go down to Settings, and then in Settings, under Feature Options, you'll come down and Quizzes.Next will need to be toggled on for you to see them. Perhaps next year these will be on by default, but right now you have to toggle them on for them to be there. Then in Assignments now is where you'll find Quizzes.Next. So to create a new Quizzes.Next, you'll look at the top where you create an assignment, and now there's one for a quiz or test right into Quizzes.Next. I'm going to show you what a sample quiz looks like. And to do that, I'm going to do it in Student View. So let's go into Student View so you can see some of these new questions. All right, so in Quizzes.Next, we have a couple of new examples. So this is the start page. I have not set a time limit or a due date or any directions on my page. If there was that information, it would be right on the main page when the students start. And I can hit Begin. Right now, I have my questions set to one question per page, so that's what we'll see. All right, the first example I have is a hotspot question. So a hotspot question means you can add an image or an item, and then students will have to identify the correct thing on it. So for example, here's a map of the United States. Where is North Carolina? So I take my cursor and I would click North Carolina, and then once I have put it there, I can hit Next and it will be graded. Here's another example. Who is the Speaker of the House in this image? So I would simply click the Speaker of the House, or who I thought it was, and hit Next and it will be graded. This example is a stimulus question. A stimulus will provide some type of stimulus on the left and then a question type, and it can be any question type on the right to answer it. So in the past, if you did an essay, the essay would be at the top of the page, and then at the bottom would be all the answers. And now you can have them side by side, or you can have it where the stimulus is a recording, or a website, or the possibilities are endless. But in this case, I use just an example of a Federalist paper. And then I ask the students to write an essay according to the author, how is liberty and factions related? So a stimulus can be anything that you want to embed into your quiz that your students would then have to answer a question from. Okay? This type of example is ordering. And obviously I got a little carried away being a former history teacher, but which president came first? And you have to put them in chronological order. So again, it's a drag and drop, making it more organized. So he probably needs to go towards the bottom. He needs to kind of go up to the top. I'm just going to leave a few out of order so we'll see incorrect answers when we're done. And then finally, this isn't a categorization question. You have a bunch of answers and you have to put them in the correct categories. You can have as many categories as you want and additional distractors. So let's put some into the correct categories. We'll do a few in the wrong ones so we can see how it will look for students too. All right. Oh yes, I'm going to submit this anyway, even though I didn't answer question 3. That's a really good thing. We'll have auto grading. Again, as a teacher, you can decide whether or not they see their answers right away or not. You can give them feedback. You can see what they need to do. Oh, and this is really great too. The students see the feedback as well. So they see, which we didn't have before, how many minutes it took them to take the test, how many points they got correct, and what their percentage is. They can see the correct answers if you have it set. All right, let's keep going. Okay, and which order they're in. If you also gave any feedback, they'd be up there as well. You can also put an online calculator on here and a little bit more analysis. So whenever you leave Student View, one of the things that you're going to want to do, and you're going to want to use Student View a lot, is you're going to always want to reset Student View now. This means that as a student, a test student, you can practice your quizzes over and over again. So that's really important for us, so that way we can see how the kids interact with it and how it works. All right, so let me get you just started on how to start a Quizzes.Next. So I reset that so I can do that again. To start a Quizzes.Next, you would click on Assignments, and at the top right-hand side of the page, you're going to click a new quiz or test. You're going to name it just like a quiz. If I can type. You can put a point value to it. You can assign your assignment group. Points, it's going to be an external tool by default. Who you assign it to, due date, and everything. Now, if you notice, nothing else is on this page. You can't do anything else because you have to save it first. So I would recommend not save and publish because you don't have any questions to it yet. Just hit save. By doing that, it creates the assignment. So now I can start building the assignment. All right, so first page is my instructions. I can add instructions here. Okay, I can also add question banks. So again, like I said, we can, in a separate video, I'll show you how to pull question banks from previous quizzes over, but I don't want to give you more work by doing that. I'd rather think of questions that would be better in Quizzes.Next and leave the ones we already have in quizzes. We can also go over to settings. In settings, we've got new display settings that are really cool. We can have questions shuffle. We can have one question at a time. We can turn on our access code. Haha. We can set a time limit. Remember, this is really important in quizzes because if we set a time limit and students do not finish their quiz, because you know we have a few that just want to milk the clock, if you have a time limit on it, you can force the end of the quiz. So I do recommend a time limit as well as the access code. IP filtering we don't have. We can set multiple attempts and we can set how those attempts will be. The highest, the average, or the latest, limited or allowed, and the time amount between each of the quiz attempts. So this is a really interesting one too, especially if you're going to use this as a retest or a teaching tool, how many minutes, hours, and days they have before they can retake the quiz. I like that. I can make some changes to it, give them a couple days to retake the tests before they have to do it instead of doing it over and over and over again to get the highest score. Restrict student view. This is what we've had before. If I want my students to not see what they got right and wrong, so therefore they can't help their friends, this is the way to do it. We can also indicate just the correct and incorrect options, but not what is right. We can give them feedback if we put that into the questions. We can show just the points that are awarded or the overall possible points. So these are some good options. And remember, this can be changed at any time. So we do that. Used to do this a lot when I was teaching, so therefore the kids couldn't see it, and then once everyone finished the test in the classroom, then I would turn it on so they could see some feedback. Under reports, once we have these questions started, we can get item analysis for each quiz and each question, as well as outcome analysis. So it's a little clearer than the previous quiz as far as some of the things that we can pull out of it. And then finally we have moderate, which is what we've always had, but it's just not sitting on that right-hand side anymore. It's on a separate one. What I like in this moderate category is that I can change how I want it to look. I can have it so I moderate all the students that have finished the test. I can moderate it so that I see the kids that are still working, or I can moderate to see the ones that have completed. And that's going to be really nice for us when we have so many students in our class. So I'm going to go back to building the assignment. When I'm ready to build the assignment, I'm going to click the plus sign to add content. And this is where it puts up each of the question types. I would simply select the question type and then move on from there. So I'm going to do that in a separate video just so that you guys have more time and I don't run out of time. But I did want to show you some things that are different in Quizzes.Next. There's definitely more there. The last thing I want to show you is obviously the return button. Return button will return you back to your assignments page. If you open your sidebar, it will give you the items that are on your quiz currently. So if you have questions, you want to see the multiple questions, they will be there. And that's how you would see that. So if I'm in my previous Quizzes.Next example, you would see question types that can then go straight to the questions. So I'll continue on in my next video.